to the NFL, MLB, NBA, and beyond. This is The Lunch Rush, presented by Circa Sports. Now, here's Trent Condon.
Good morning and welcome in. The Lunch Rush is on the air with you, taking you up until 1 o'clock here this afternoon as we talk the world of sports. Glad to have you aboard with us here today as we dive into a whole wide range of topics. There is so much going on. Of course, Major League Baseball continues on. A light slate overall in baseball last night, but the Cubs with a nice victory. My Twins held on, though it was hair on fire for that one. We got hot teams, we got cold teams, we got guys that looked awful. Cal Raleigh finally starting maybe to heat up with a big performance. We'll talk plenty of Major League Baseball here as the Cubs get a victory and get a little bit closer to the Brew Crew in the National League Central. Coming up today on the guest list, we'll kick things off here at about 11:20. We'll be joined by Bill Bender from the Sporting News as the continued speculation about what's going to happen with many of the college football players trying to get their way back into college football if they don't make a pro team. We talked yesterday about Daquan Wright, the tight end that was formerly at Ole Miss, wants to go to LSU. There is a court case as the rulings come down that is going to potentially allow him to make his way with his former head coach in Lane Kiffin and make his way there. Also, Javian Harris is potentially going there, who is with the New Orleans Saints and going with LSU now. That is potentially on the table. The Big Ten, though, has said no. The SEC also said the same, yet they're allowing this to happen. That's a conversation we're going to get into today. Bill Bender is going to join us, and we'll talk about a little football. As yes, Week 0 is upon us. Coming up this week, we'll talk about a couple of the intriguing matchups in Week 0 of the college football schedule. Then at 11:40, we're going to change things a little bit, and something I'm really interested in talking with my guy, Will Nigut. Now, he is a sports psychologist. He has done a whole lot. He works with Mental Game Learning Lab. You may have heard the commercial. This is an opportunity for athletes to not just work on their body. I mean, we got gyms all over the place. You got performance centers here across central Iowa. There are so many opportunities. And one thing that has missed a ton is the mental side of things. We're going to talk about sports psychology, go into some of the things that is happening from velocity for a pitcher when you see guys struggling. We're going to get into a lot of those different areas. I think a really intriguing conversation coming up with Will. He'll join us here at 11:40. We'll kick off the 12 o'clock hour. I mentioned yesterday, it's quarterback week. We're going to run through the NFL, the Big 12, the Big 10, my quarterback rankings. And here to help me on the quarterback side is my guy, Russ Carew. We're going to go through the different tiers of quarterback. Now, full disclosure, he is a huge Chiefs fan. He is a season ticket holder. So maybe that will sway him a little bit. Of course, I'm a Bears fan. That will sway me a little bit also, as we will talk about Caleb Williams. And we'll go through our quarterback rankings. Then tomorrow, it will be the Big 12 in the spotlight. And then on Thursday, we will get into the Big 10 rankings as we will rank the quarterbacks coming up for the upcoming season. And we got to put the parameters there. This is a one-year thing. This is for this season. The way that I look at it, you have an average football team. You have an average offensive line, an average group of receivers, an average running game, an average offensive coordinator, an average defense on the other side. Just strictly in terms of the talent, what you would want for the quarterback. That's the way that I look at it. And we'll talk with that to kick off the 12 o'clock hour with Russ and have some fun talking some NFL football with him. Speaking of the NFL and the Chiefs, of course, Mitch Holthus will be back to join us as he always does here throughout August camp as we continue our conversations there. And then picks of the day, they're presented by Circa Sports. That's how we wrap up the show each and every day. Drew Reinhardt, my radio producer here at the ESPN Des Moines studios. Drew, another kissing your sister 1-1.
Yeah, it wasn't a great day for me, but Rangers got the win, and that was plus money, so we'll take it.
Absolutely. That's a positive day. That's in the green.
Yep.
It's not about your record. It's about how many units you're up, and that adds to the bankroll right there. We had a hot day, finally. And maybe, I believe the best day here on ESPN Des Moines came yesterday. We went 5-1. The only one that we didn't hit yesterday was we went with the home run prop with Cody Clemens, who had a hit, had an RBI, but needed a home run in that one. That was just a half-unit play, but 5-1 overall, up about 40 units from yesterday. So we will definitely take that and hope to build on it here throughout the course of the week. We'll make our picks coming up a little bit later on. Well, for me last night, it was a late night as I had taped the BTN tour, making its way to Iowa City, their final stop. And you could also tell the crew, field felt like they're pretty excited at the end that they were going to be able to get home after being on the road for these last few weeks going through. No Jerry Teddardo in this one, but we know what Jerry was going to say about Iowa. It doesn't matter what practice he goes to. It's very well run. It's very physical, all the different things that are there. But a couple of takeaways from the tour stop. And what we found out, I think, as we dive a little bit deeper into this, as we try to learn about this Iowa football team. I think everybody out there, if you've been listening, certainly know my concerns with this squad, from the leadership, the lack of seniors on this team, all the new faces that are there, the developmental part of the program. It's going to certainly look different coming in to the season. We know the schedule's a bear to kick off the Big Ten play before it lightens up in the back half. I want to start with Kirk. Kirk, a lot of Kirkisms that were there. Talked about consistency. He talked about leadership, the things that we hear, all the buzzwords that come from Kirk Ferentz every single time. Two things, though, that really stood out when Kirk Ferentz was talking to the crew. Number one, he said that they're healthy, relatively healthy. Now, Tom Caker told us on Friday's show that there is potential Tyler Brown, the anticipated starting strong safety, will not be ready to go for the Northern Illinois game as he's dealing with the soft tissue injury and something that has lingered for a while. But outside of that, said they're relatively healthy, got to stay healthy. He also brought that up a couple of different times, but sounds like health is a good thing, and that's obviously good news with any level of football that you're talking about. And he also talked about the defensive line. Defensive tackle specifically, for me, is a huge question mark, but he said that they're getting better. Phil Parker, a little bit later, he mentioned that they're gelling well. I think that they're comfortable, that at minimum, maybe they're going to be okay up front. And if they're okay with the back seven that they have defensively, with an offense that I think is going to be really good running the football again this year, we'll talk about the passing game in a moment. A couple of things that stood out from there. Then we heard from Tim Lester. And Tim Lester, this dude, I just love hearing him talk. He did a couple of podcasts this summer. I tried to get him on my Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, but timing just never worked out. But just listening to him describe football, you can tell how much he loves the game. It's not just, that's what I did. I was a quarterback in college, and I just do that. No, this guy lives, breathes, sleeps football. And yet he explains it in a way that, for most of us out there, for me, I don't know how to really grade an offensive line. I think I know it when I see it, but overall, I don't know all the intricacies that are there and all the small things. We're watching football from a different angle. We're not watching the all-22s. We're not breaking things down like a coach does, but he describes things, he talks about things in a way that is incredibly easy to digest, I think, for just the casual fan, for the hardcore fan, and for us guys in the media that, for the most part, don't know our ass from our elbow. I mean, let's be honest. There's many people that know the game at a lot higher level, and Tim Lester describes it in a way. And that thought, as I was just listening to him again, and just kind of had a little smirk on my face as he's talking and going through and heard some of the stories before, the things he's talked about. But with Tim Lester, a lot of people believe that there is going to be an heir apparent. Seth Wallace is probably the most likely guy that is going to take over. If Kirk maybe had his wish, what they did, getting him the role of the assistant head coach, that new moniker that they came up with him, LeVar Woods, a lot of people point to him now going out to Michigan State, maybe learning from something different. That's going to help his opportunity to potentially have that job. And we don't know who else is going to be available whenever Kirk decides to hang it up, what that's going to look like. But if Tim Lester can actually fix the passing game, he's already done it with the run game. We've seen that the first 2 years. In the first year, there's a little bit, well, maybe it's just Caleb Johnson was such a stud. We'll see. Well, last year, they did it again and did it in a completely different way with, yes, a good running game, but more importantly, a running quarterback. Tim Lester's talked about that before. He's never had a quarterback that he can just run in the A-gap whenever he wants. And we saw the growth again in the running game a season ago, and that definitely showed up in a big-time way. But Tim Lester, if he gets this thing fixed, is there going to be growing momentum for a guy that had success at Western Michigan, has had ups and downs throughout the course of his career, that he potentially could be the heir apparent to Kirk Ferentz whenever Kirk decides to hang it up. Just something that bounced into my mind last night as we were listening to him. A couple other things from Tim Lester in yesterday's Big Ten Tour stop. The run game improvement, that definitely came up. Talking about, first, what they have catching the football, starting with the tight ends. I mean, the depth is ridiculous. Obviously, we know DJ Vonami, what he did at the end of last year, starting in the Nebraska game, continuing over 150 yards in the game against Vanderbilt. Just what a matchup nightmare this guy is. A high school quarterback. He can run. He learned to block, as DJ mentioned a little later in the program when he was on set as well, talking with the guys. But you can just see that they have a rising star. It was also good to hear Addison Ostrenga, and the crew mentioned this a couple of different times with Ostrenga. Now, I mentioned a play that I saw at Kids Day where Ostrenga still looked like he was lumbering a little bit coming off that Achilles tear. I don't expect to see the same explosiveness that we saw from him early in his career. That kind of injury, it takes a while to come back from, but they said that he looked very good. Thomas Meyer, you saw him late last season. Big improvement there. I thought he definitely looked the part, had a couple of good routes. He's just so big and physical to couple with the athleticism that he has at the tight end position just in his second year. He's still got Zach Ortworth. He's played a lot of football for this Hawkeye program. There's a lot of weapons at the tight end position. The question that I still have with the Tim Lester offense and the Shanahan offense is how much are they going to use that and use those matchups to their advantage. He also talked about the speed at wide receiver, but not just the speed, but going out. And one thing they were looking for in the portal is, yes, they wanted to get faster. Tim Lester talked about that since he showed up on campus a couple of years ago, that they needed more speed in the wide receiver room. But you also throw in the fact that they wanted guys that were productive. Both Tony Diaz and Evan James were incredibly productive. Rio Grande Valley for Tony Diaz, Furman for Evan James. He did it as a true freshman. He did it against Clemson, had a touchdown catch in that game. So you see two guys that were productive, and they think are going to help the speed element also. And don't be surprised if both those guys are out there as a starter. We've talked a ton about Tony Diaz, but that was a big takeaway for me over at Media Day, is Evan James probably going to be your slot guy. He's going to be the guy inside and using that speed to the advantage. But finally, of course, we talk about quarterback when it comes to the offense, and the quarterback didn't sound like it went very well. Now, Dave Revson at one point when he was talking about the quarterbacks, he said it was a challenging day for the quarterbacks, particularly Hecklinski. And as we talked yesterday with Elliot Clough, you can go back and listen to the podcast if you missed it. Elliot brought up that he'd been hearing the same kind of things, that Saturday in the practice, Hank Brown definitely won the day. Jake Butt said the same thing here, that it was Hank Brown that won the day. And both Kirk Ferentz and Tim Lester, both of them mentioned that this is something that they believe is probably going to go into the season. It went from all the highs of what we saw a couple of Saturdays ago now over in Iowa City. Jeremy Hecklinski chucking it around, 5 touchdowns. Here we go. This is going to be an easy decision. It doesn't sound like the case. Now, I maintain, and I might start digging my heels in on this one, when it comes to the quarterback spot, Hank Brown very well could be a lot better looking in practice. And I go back to Spencer Petras against Alex Padilla and how much we heard that. It was about practice. It's about practice. We got AI over there talking about practice. Well, there's certain guys that it doesn't translate. And when the speed is real and he can actually get hit and there's guys bearing down on you and the pocket's collapsing, there are certain guys that just don't have it. And that is my concern with Hank Brown. If you want to see both guys, so be it. I think the decision is pretty easy. I want to see the gamer. I want to see the guy that has gone out there in limited reps. I get it. But also the part where Jeremy Hecklinski took over as the backup a year ago. And I don't know what it was about that. It was so un-Iowa football-like for a backup quarterback, for that to flip-flop in the middle of the year. Now, remember also, Gronowski went down in that Indiana game, and leading up to the matchup, they had a bye week before the game against Wisconsin. The speculation, a couple of things I heard at that time, and certainly early in the week of game week then, after the bye, is they didn't think that Mark Gronowski was going to be able to go, that he was not going to be out there. And while that was happening, as they were getting ready for the game, that's when Hecklinski elevated and became the backup. And if Gronowski wasn't able to go, of course, he would have been the starter. That's something that I think should be a bigger deal than some people remember. That just doesn't happen inside of Iowa football yet. It did a year ago. Will we see both guys? Is it going to be a platoon situation? That's what we're going to find out. And coming up tomorrow, we will have media availability over in Iowa City. I believe 10:45 is when Kirk's going to go. Let's see if I can actually find the email that came in yesterday that had the rundown of things. Here it is. Media advisory, yes. 10:45, Kirk Ferentz will briefly visit with reporters following practice. 10:45, so right before the show, and we will have it for you kicking off at the 11 o'clock hour. Hopefully, maybe Kirk will announce the start. Might be too much. Or will it just be more of the same? We still got to see. We'll see where it's going to go. We'll see on that front. But again, coming up at 10:45 tomorrow, we will hear from the players over there as a couple of players, and of course, Kirk Ferentz with his media availability. They also send out what it's going to look like with media availability starting next week. Tuesdays, you get the student athletes right before our show at 10:50, 11:45. Check that, 1:45. Then Kirk Ferentz will have his weekly press conference on Tuesdays again this season. So that is what is in front of us with Iowa football. Lot of talk on that one. Mentioned the big news today from the Big Ten as they are not going to allow these players to come back. On the Iowa angle, of course, that impacts one of the guys we speculated the most about, Aaron Graves, potentially coming back if he doesn't make the Baltimore Ravens. I think we take this off the table, and I think we just set it aside because there's going to be more litigation that comes out of this. And certainly if these players that are making their way to LSU and the 16 players that were involved in the case down in Louisiana, that's going to change the equation for the SEC. It's going to take litigation, but I just don't believe, I cannot imagine that this is going to come from Iowa, that this is going to come from Aaron Graves, that is the route that they're going to go. Could there be other Big Ten players? Absolutely. This does not feel like, though, something I was going to get involved and swim in those waters. I just don't see that coming to fruition coming up this season. So cross it off. Good news, though, again, from yesterday's Big Ten tour stop with the Big Ten Network. A couple of times, Bryce Hawthorne came up. I said this during the summer on my podcast, and I don't think it's hyperbolic. I think Bryce Hawthorne is the most important player for this Iowa football team this season. Yes, he can talk about the stars, the Zach Lutmers of the world, what we're going to see out of guys like Tony Diaz and his importance, DJ Vanami, inside with Trevor Lauck at the offensive tackle spot, and Cade Pieper, what he's going to be doing inside. You can argue all those guys, and those all guys probably are better football players, but because of the lack of experience, and because we have seen in the past when Iowa struggles at defensive tackle, how the defense can take a step back, Bryce Hawthorne, he's got the reps, he's got the experience, now it's chance to explode. And if Bryce Hawthorne puts together a really good season this year, say he's second, third team, all Big Ten, something like that, I think some of the concerns about the defensive line are definitely going to be alleviated. Now, he's got to find another running mate with it, and it was great to hear a couple of times Devin Kennedy's name come up. The son of Jimmy Kennedy, longtime NFL player, was an absolute stud at Penn State. Now, Dad still got like 40 pounds on him at his playing weight in comparison to Devin Kennedy, but that's a guy, keep an eye on him. A lot of upside there, still adding to that frame. If he can get going, you got the former walk-ons with Luke Gaffney and Will Hubert, a couple of guys that definitely could pop this season. But I think overall, that was another good one to hear, that Bryce Hawthorne definitely was causing problems in the middle for the Iowa defense yesterday in practice. Let's take a timeout. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into the court cases. Now, we're not going to talk all lawyer talk. No, that's not what it's going to be. The Big Ten not allowing players to return from the NFL, though, the big story of the day. Plus, we'll talk Week 0 coming up with Bill Bender from the Sporting News. We are your daily show here in Des Moines. Glad to have you aboard with us here. It is the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on the Rush Radio Network, where you can watch us each and every day. Just search The Rush on YouTube. You can also find us over there, rushradio.com. You can find the website and break things down each and every day on that front, or you can listen to us here on ESPN Des Moines, our home studios, each and every day. 102.1 on the FM dial and 1350 on the AM side. Quick time out, back on the other side. We're talking college football. Bill Bender, he joins us next. Stay right there. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon. We're back with more in a moment.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the offseason?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
Family owned since 1970, Kemker's True Value in Rental helps you buy what you want and rent what you need. Get to work on that to-do list with help from Kemker's True Value in Rental. Kemker's has all your hardware needs, grills for that family barbecue, and a one-stop shop for all your lawn and garden needs. Plus, their rental catalog is perfect for do-it-yourselfers. Make it Kemker's True Value in Rental. Find out what they can do for you at KemkersTrueValue.com. That's KemkersTrueValue.com.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist, we're accepting new patients. I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters. Joined by Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care. It's football season. Concussions always a big topic.
This year, 2 to 3 million sports-related concussions will occur, and about half of those go unreported. 2 out of every 10 high school students will suffer a concussion. The most important part is following through with your doctor, but the recommendations are different than they used to be. At Elite Eye Care, we can diagnose and treat the post-concussion visual symptoms that typically exist.
That's Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care, with locations in Waukee, 2 in Ankeny, and the newest location in Norwalk for Elite Eye Care.
Looking for your next big pull? Head to the Rookie Sports Cards in Clyde, your destination for sports cards, collectibles, and all the excitement of the hobby. Whether you're hunting for the newest rookies, building your collection, or searching for that perfect card, the Rookie Sports Card has something for every collector. From baseball to football, basketball, and more, your next great find could be waiting for you. The Rookie Sports Cards in Clive. Collect the game you love.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale.
The headlines keep coming, and the conversation keeps rolling. Back to the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon.
Back with you once again as we take you up until 1 o'clock this afternoon, your midday break. We talk local sports with you each and every day. Joining us right now, he is Bill Bender from the Sporting News. You can find him on Twitter at BillBender92 as he joins us here today. Bill, talked to you for a long time. I don't know if I know. What's the 92? Was that your football number, Bill?
Of course. I'm a high school hang-on like everybody else. As you know, I'm a Packer fan, and I think your listeners know. But the catch is, we've met, I do not look like Reggie White. I am very skinny. I played wide receiver and wore 92, tried to start a trend, and that has yet to take off. The kickers still wear those numbers in the 90s, not the receivers.
Yeah, not happening a whole lot. I was wondering because I cannot exactly imagine you playing Ohio high school football coming off the end at probably a high school, weighed about 115 pounds. So that 92 threw me off a little bit, but there it is, 92 for a wide receiver. How many catches in your career, Bill?
That total keeps going up every year. It's funny. My senior year was probably around, if I'm being honest, it's probably around 20. All but, right. I still tell my son, I had about 40 catches that year.
Absolutely. Gotta pump those numbers up a little bit for the kids. And yeah, I definitely do the same kind of thing with mine. Well, Bill Bender joining us from the Sporting News. Big news today from the college football world as the Big Ten will not allow players to return from the NFL. Here on the local front, there was some speculation. Aaron Graves, the second team All Big Ten defensive tackle a year ago. Maybe if he didn't make the Ravens, could that make a little bit of sense as he was part of the class of 2022? But the Big Ten looks like they're going to say no more to this. the latest on that front. Let's just start with kind of the Big Ten angle and being the first conference to really come out and say, no, this is not going to happen.
Smart on their part, because I think all of this could have been avoided. 5 for 5 took effect on June 23rd. Why didn't the NCAA and the NFL work together and say, all right, if you're on a NFL team, you can come play, you can go back, but you have a hard and fast deadline, right? Like if you kind of like how they do with the NBA draft when guys test the waters, you could have done that this year and avoided a lot of this. But, once you're in that NFL, once you and I are sitting around watching preseason football and you're seeing these guys run around on the NFL fields, it's kind of hard to stomach them coming back to college. And I think that's the problem they've run into. So the Big Ten is doing the smart thing here, in my opinion.
Right there with you. Now, the SEC, Greg Sankey normally seems like he's kind of at the forefront of things. I know there's been conversations about potentially going that route, but we have what's happening at LSU. Indiana and the Big Ten tried to do this, and now that's not going to be able to happen. When you look at the SEC angle, how different is it, and do you anticipate Sankey's going to come out as well and say, no, this is not going to happen? Because I believe that court case with the 16 guys in Louisiana, that was something against the NCAA, not against the SEC, if I have that correct.
Yeah, this has been the summer of courtroom for college football. It really has. And, I think the Lane Kiffin versus Sankey angle here is really interesting because Daquan Wright, the tight end, he can help a college football team. Average 16 yards per catch. Had decent numbers at Ole Miss, could have decent numbers at LSU. So probably better numbers than he would have given the Browns quarterback situation. I had to get a Browns joke in, okay? It's going to be an interesting standoff, especially if Sankey follows suit with the Big Ten. What is Lane Kiffin's reaction going to be? And this is, off-season drama number 3 for Lane Kiffin. He hasn't even got on the sideline yet.
Well, speaking of Lane Kiffin, this story, so of course I see it on social media. So it's like, all right, is it real? That's the new thing that we have to do and see if this is actually real. But the executive director of Ole Miss's NIL Collective said that the FBI searched the Rebels football office for recording devices after former coach Lane Kiffin left for LSU following the season. Just absolutely befuddling, yet in a way I'm like, well, if anybody was going to do it, it'd probably be Lane Kiffin, right?
Oh, it's incredible. That's why I love college football, that we have the FBI getting involved and over things that are trivial in the grand scheme of things. But, it's amazing. And it adds to the heat that's going to come for that Ole Miss LSU game on September 19th. I will say this. I mean, I rarely, me, and I'm a Big Ten guy and all that, I rarely get super hyped up about a SEC game. But that one, be in front of the TV just to see the reactions on social media, the reactions on the field, wins that game. I really do believe that one's going to carry for a while. This, being an NFL guy, there's Packers-Bears games that weigh a little more. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about the one that weighed a lot last year, and it's still on my mind heading into the season.
Oh, that was an absolute beauty, no doubt about it. Let's have more of those, because it's been a lot of heartache over the last, 3 decades now, basically, for my Bears against your Packers, Bill. I want to jump into some actual football conversation as we come into week 0. The game's coming up this weekend. It's overall, look, it's not great by any means. We get that, but there are some games that are intriguing, and it kicks off with that 11 o'clock game. Once again, the Big 12 involved, though just one of the two teams, not two teams like a year ago. TCU, you're looking for a dark horse. It feels like TCU's had some momentum at different times this offseason, what they're going to look like this year. And then, of course, you have Bill Belichick in North Carolina. Let's start with the Tar Heels. The defense made big improvements in the back half of last year. How about the rest of the team? Year number 2 of Belichick. Is this thing going to go out with a whimper, or does this squad in an incredibly difficult schedule, do they have a chance at minimum to get to bowl eligibility?
Well, I talked to EJ Manuel about Belichick today. I have a column coming out later in the week. It's been sloppy. It's been malfunctioned. But, my question is, what are they going to do to get off what can he do to get off the hot seat? And EJ had a great point today, and you'll see the story later. It's about how they look. It's not just about if they win or not, but do they get Browns like we watched on Labor Day last year? Do the headlines off the field overpower what's going on the field? With my mind, Trent, they have Bobby Petrino now. Mm-hmm. They ought to have some good play calling with him. He knows how to coach offense. So do they get the development at quarterback necessary to put up some more points? And like I said, they don't need to win. But when you stare at that 7.5 line, you're kind of in the back of your head thinking, man, are they going to get blown out again? And how would Bill Belichick get off the hot seat at that point?
Going to be difficult. It really has that feeling that it's going to be tough for him and gaining momentum. Got what's happening with the GM situation and just everything else. The guy knows football. It's not about football. It's different kind of football. And that's where the struggles seem to be at this point in time for Bill Belichick. Mentioned TCU as maybe a dark horse in the Big 12. Who do you like as a dark horse in the Big 12 this year, Bill?
Well, I think that top tier of team hasn't changed. Utah, BYU, Houston, Texas Tech, and then you get through that. Arizona's interesting to me. I don't know if I said that last time I was on your show, just because Noah Fafita's played a ton of football. I'm wondering what Kansas State looks like with Colin Klein. I've always respected him as an offensive coordinator. He was obviously a great player. Can he unlock something more out of Avery Johnson? A guy that, there's times, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Avery Johnson, you watch him sometimes, you're like, that's an NFL quarterback, man. He can play. And then the inconsistency hits, and he struggles sometimes. So I think they're a very interesting team, potential sleeper, if in that second tier of the Big 12. Arizona State, I feel like we're not talking about as much either, but I know Kenny Dillingham can coach.
Absolutely proved that a couple of years ago, had an injury-ravaged roster a year ago, and we'll see the Sun Devils this year. Dark horses in the Big 12 certainly has been something that has jumped up even with the power last year, because going into last year, yes, we thought Texas Tech was going to be good. BYU with Bachmeier taking over at the quarterback spot, I don't think a lot of people had BYU penciled in. We'll see if we get another topsy-turvy year this year. What about Bachmeier? A guy that wears number 47, just looks weird out there, but he proved himself in his freshman year. What kind of growth do you expect out of him at BYU?
Well, I think, he's a guy that he started to throw the ball a little bit better toward the end of the year. He had a couple 300-yard games. Played really well in the bowl game and the Pop-Tarts Bowl. They're based around being physical, running the football. It helps when you have L.J. Martin to hand the ball to. And I want to see what their defense is all about. Kalani made some headlines a couple weeks ago about the resources at BYU and having some frustration there. So, does that get into the locker room a little bit? But Bear Bachmeier is a guy that if he maxes out, plays great, passes the ball, he'll have stats that are able to get him in the Heisman discussion, which is ironic because, the BYU guys and historically they got in the Heisman discussion were, these quarterbacks that had ridiculous passing totals.
Couple other games of interest. We got an all-ACC affair, NC State against Virginia. That game was supposed to be played in Brazil, and then they didn't get enough people that signed up for that, so they moved it back stateside, and that'll be in Virginia and Charlottesville. Two of those kind of teams in that juicy middle of the ACC. We saw Virginia a year ago, really successful season, obviously ending in the ACC championship game. NC State, Dave Doran, the former Drake coach, that's a guy that just never seems to quite be able to get over the hump. Between the two, who do you like this weekend, and who do you think gets over the hump between the two squads?
Yeah, but Dave Doran beats Virginia. He's 4-0 against Virginia.
Oh.
He's got a good quarterback in C.J. Bailey. I saw that stat this week. It caught my attention because of the line. I'm like, why is Virginia favored by so many? Bo Prabula's played a lot of football, too. Two-time transfer quarterback that you'll see for the Cavs. Very sneaky good ACC game on the schedule. I just anticipate a typical ACC game where they go back and forth, maybe a field goal either way. But it's hard not to look at that Dave Doran trend and think, hey, if C.J. Bailey plays well, they don't turn the ball over, he could make it 5 in a row over the Cavaliers and get the ACC off to a wild start.
Sounds like Bill Bender's grabbing the Wolf Pack and the points in that one coming up this weekend. Hawaii, Stanford, fun game. We saw the walk-off last year. Kip field goal for that one. Now it's back at Stanford. Coming up, Florida State, that got New Mexico State. No Diego Pavia. I don't think he's going to get any eligibility to go back to New Mexico State. Don't think that's going to come to fruition. But maybe the most intriguing game for me is the last one of Week 0. Memphis, UNLV. I've seen both of these teams listed as potentially the group of 5 team to make it to the college football playoff this season. A fun one late night on Fox, 9 o'clock kickoff. Boy, it'll feel like college football's back with that late kick.
Well, yeah, and, Trent, you're going to say, oh, I remember that guy, and in this case, it's going to be Jackson Arnold, the former Oklahoma and Auburn quarterback who's going to be on the field for UNLV and Dan Mullen, and we're going to see what Dan Mullen does to maybe get Jackson Arnold going. I got Sam Darnold on the brain too. That's a really good late night game with a group of 6 implications, and UNLV coming off a 10-win season. If it's not Boise, who they're not in the same conference anymore, it might be UNLV. Those are the 2 teams I like most for that G6 berth.
We'll also get to see the North Dakota State Bison for the first time. I know you're working on an article at the Sporting News about making the jump up for them, moving to the ranks of the FBS. The transition is going to be upon us, and we got a few fans here of the Bison. I know here around the state of Iowa, people that have migrated down or just people that have enjoyed watching their brand of football over the last 15, 20 years and what they developed at the FCS level. Your thoughts on the Bison, the opening matchup in year number 1, making the transition up?
Oh, I'm excited. This feature is going to be pretty cool. Just looking into the mechanics of making that move up, the obvious. I mean, people there obviously know. I forgot some stat. 10 national titles. They remind me of Mount Union here in Ohio in Division III. But in this case, North Dakota State is taking that leap up. And what's that going to look like? What have they learned? And, it was fun talking to Coach Polasek and Griffin Empey, another outstanding offensive lineman that has helped them build that tradition. So, I think the rest of college football fans that don't know about the Fargo Dome or, the traditions there, it's going to be cool to see them get into their opener, and I can't wait to see it.
Bill Bender at the Sporting News. You can find that article with North Dakota State coming up and a whole lot more college football content. Make sure to check out thesportingnews.com. Bill, as always, appreciate the time. Enjoy week 0, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, sounds good, Trent. Thank you.
Bill Bender from the Sporting News as we talk some college football, a newsy day here on a Tuesday in the world of college football. Back on the other side, we changed the conversation. We're going to go deep. We're going to go inside our brains. We're going to learn more about sports psychology. We're going to learn a little bit more about what it takes for these athletes. And if you have a young athlete, maybe that's struggling with something, maybe just somebody that they need to talk to. I tell this story before. My daughter, she got beaned. Our first tournament a couple of springs back. She got hit hard, and it was a struggle afterwards. I, as a coach, tried everything. All my assistant coaches, all the parents, mom tried to do it as a non-coach, tried everything. Talking to somebody can help out your athlete, and we're going to talk a little bit about that with Will Nigut coming up here on the other side from Mental Game Learning Lab. That's coming up next. Sports Psychology. Stay right there. It's The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon on ESPN Des Moines and the Rush Radio Network.
Get in on the action with the world's largest sports book, right at your fingertips. Circa Sports.
As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always priority one.
Hey, Tanner with Liberty Lawn and Landscape here. We are now booking, so get a hold of us to schedule your next project today. Serving the Des Moines Metro, we specialize in a variety of services such as retaining walls, paver patios, edging and rocking, and much more. Now offering 3D renderings to show you exactly how your project will look before beginning. Liberty is proudly veteran-owned and ready to serve you today.
The Lunch Rush will be right back, but so will more local, live, and everyday sports programs on the Rush Radio Network. Wake up with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson on The Rush from 6 to 8 a.m. and finish your day with Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain from 4 to 6. Every show, every day on the Rush Radio Network.
There are a lot of reasons to want a self-driving mower from Iowa Mobotics.
At your fingertips.
Being automated
Largest sports
gives me more time to do my hobbies.
I travel so much for work that I don't have time to take care of the lawn, but I still care about how it looks.
And I'm just lazy. Gives me time to work in the wood shop instead of spending it on the mower.
It works in my schedule.
And I just really hate doing it.
No matter your reason, with Iowa Mobotics, spend less time mowing, more time
and then we always keep it intact.
Siderama of Urbandale. 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale.
I'm a lifelong sports bettor and owner of Circa Sports. We built this platform for bettors that want high limits and total transparency.
featuring tight money line splits, lowest holds, and exceptional live customer service.
Hi, how may I help you today?
Download your new bookie today. Circa Sports. Start betting like a pro.
Every business has priorities, and Priority One Heating and Cooling is no different. As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always Priority One.
Hey, Tanner with Liberty Lawn and Landscape here. We are now booking, so get a hold of us to schedule your next project today. Serving the Des Moines Metro, we specialize in a variety of services such as retaining walls, paver patios, edging and rocking, and much more. Now offering 3D renderings to show you exactly how your project will look before beginning. Liberty is proudly veteran-owned and ready to serve you today.
The Lunch Rush will be right back, but so will more local, live, and everyday sports programs on the Rush Radio Network. Wake up with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson on The Rush from 6 to 8 a.m. and finish your day with Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain from 4 to 6. Every show, every day on the Rush Radio Network.
There are a lot of reasons to want a self-driving mower from Iowa Mobotics.
Being automated gives me more time to do my hobbies.
I travel so much for work that I don't have time to take care of the lawn, but I still care about how it looks.
And I'm just lazy. Gives me time to work in the wood shop instead of spending it on the mower.
It works in my schedule.
And I just really hate doing it.
No matter your reason, with Iowa Mobotics, spend less time mowing, more time.
Back with you as we talk the world of sports, taking up until 1 o'clock this afternoon. I'm Trent Condon. Thanks for being with us on The Lunch Rush, presented by Circa Sports. Well, we are going to have a different kind of conversation now, as we're joined by Will Nigut from Mental Game Learning Lab, taking a look at what is happening inside the heads of the athletes that are out there. Will, appreciate you giving us some time. First, before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts, let's go through your background here. You're a Central Iowa kid. Played high school baseball, went on, pitched collegiately, a long path, and now exactly what you're doing with Mental Game Learning Lab and working not just with pitchers and getting them ready with the physical part of it, but doing it on the mental side of the game.
Yes, yep. That's my job is to help not just pitchers, but baseball players and high-level athletes alike compete with clarity and unshakable confidence, just so that whatever challenge that they face out on the field or in preparation or afterwards, that they have the mental ability to handle it just as well as the physical ability.
So what you do working with athletes, and you work, I know, with a wide range of different athletes for people at the high school level, at the collegiate level, there's a ton that is happening on that front. As you go through it, you kind of look at the way that you do things. What happens most? What do you experience the most for people that are looking for something to help them on the mental side of things? What is the question or the topic that comes up the most when you're working with athletes?
I think the biggest question is how can I be more consistently confident in my abilities so that when I get in those big moments, or not even just the big moments, right? But if an athlete is really, really struggling and they just haven't been playing for a while, it's, how can I get in those moments and just get my mind to work for me and to kind of quiet the noise and just to feel that confidence and compete with that confidence when I need it most, so that my abilities that I showcase every single time I step on the field in practice actually show up in games. Because a lot of times it's difficult to have that translate just because the game environment is so much different. So I think a lot of athletes, it's kind of confusing when they put in so much work and they practice hard and they work really hard and they care a lot about their sport, and they get in the game and it's just kind of a whole different beast.
Will, we hear so much about mental toughness, and I hear it all the time. Now, I'm at the youth level with my daughter's softball team, and you hear somebody holler, get tough, those kind of things, and use mental toughness. It's a buzzword that we throw around. I think most of us don't know what it means. So when you hear mental toughness, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I think when most people think of mental toughness, they think of gritting your teeth and not allowing yourself to feel any of that unwanted or unhelpful emotion like anger, frustration, embarrassment, and really to almost be emotionless about it and to stay focused when you're experiencing all that. And it is about staying focused when you're experiencing that. But I think where people go wrong is thinking that they can't feel those things, right? It's the assumption that my feelings and my unhelpful thoughts are there's a direct line from those into my actions. So if I want my actions to be, I can't experience those things. And I mean, I'm here to fight against that, because we actually have to acknowledge what we're feeling and allow ourselves to feel emotions like frustration and anger and disappointment and embarrassment, and actually experience the unhelpful thoughts that come with that. Because if we just try to push those out of mind, if we don't allow ourselves to experience those, then they're going to completely control the way that we think out there. They're going to completely control the way that we act. But if we realize that, you know what, I'm a human and I'm going to experience those things. I really care about what I'm doing. I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to deal with disappointment and embarrassment. Now I can start to look at it from a problem-solving lens and think, okay, I'm experiencing this. What am I going to do about it, right? How am I going to act in this next situation? What's my next confident action that I can take that can bring me a little bit closer to being that athlete that I want to be, to competing with confidence? So it's more so about, I call it mental flexibility, because we want to be flexible. We want to allow ourselves to be able to experience a wide range of not just challenges, right, but also internal emotions and thoughts, just so that we can choose the next best action.
I know, Will, you being a former D1 pitcher, you definitely know the ins and outs of that side. And I had this thought last night, as you work with a lot of pitchers, I know that is Paul Skeens. Now, we know the velocity's down. That's a piece of it. But for a guy that probably has never struggled before pitching, had so much success at the beginning of his career, the velocity is one thing, and we'll see, and if there's something underlying, that's one part of it. But what about the mental side? When you see a guy like that has been so dominant for so long, and suddenly it's not at that level, what do you think about when it comes to the mental side of things for a guy like Paul Skeens?
I'm sure it's a challenge, right? He's obviously been accustomed to a lot of success the past several years at Air Force, LSU, and with the Pirates. So I'm sure it's a little bit of a challenge, because he's not dominating quite like he has been. But I think when you're at that level and you are now in, I think it's his third season, I think it's actually pretty natural to experience a little bit of a regression, because he's really, really good, but so is everybody else that he's competing against. And when they have that much on him now, that they can go out there, they can game plan for him. So I think it's completely normal. I don't know any pitcher that has just absolutely dominated every single season of their career. I would guess that he is not trying to make too much of a big deal about it, and really that he is focused on going out there every single outing with his best stuff, and really just focused on what he can do in the moment. And then once the season is over, my guess is that's when he'll do a little bit more of an evaluation to see, what was going well, but what wasn't going as well as it had been previously. How can he make adjustments, and how can he put himself into a better position next season to get back a little bit of that dominance? So I know that people are making a little bit bigger of a deal out of it now, but I also, I look at him and I see his statistics, and he's still probably better than, 75 plus, 80 plus % of all the pitchers in the MLB statistically. So, that says something, that when you're that good and, you fall off a little bit, how the narrative starts to change a little bit.
Will Nigut joining us, Mental Game Learning Lab. Young pitchers, old pitchers, everyone in between, the mental side of it. What's the biggest mental mistake you see from pitchers that they make?
I think the biggest mistake that not even just pitchers make, but like baseball players in general, is they struggle to play the game one pitch at a time. Baseball, we always talk about how it's played one pitch at a time, and that's really all that you can control, is what is right in front of you. But baseball is kind of a different beast when it comes to a a really mentally challenging sport. I know it's not as physically demanding as other sports, but you talk about how much time there is in between pitches, right? There's, 15 seconds in between pitches. And then when you're not on the field, I mean, it might be half an hour or more before you see your next at bat. And if you're a pitcher, it might be 5 days to a week before you see your next outing. And that's a challenge because when you have that time, it's a lot of time for your mind to go to some dark places. There's nothing really to pull your attention away when you get stuck into that negative loop of thoughts and emotions. So that on one hand is a challenge, but it is really, really tough to not let one pitch bleed into the next. When you make a mistake, when you lose a hitter, or when you have a really uncompetitive at bat, it's really, really easy to allow that to bleed in to the next pitch and the next at bat. And then you start to worry about what could happen after that, right? What are the consequences of walking this guy here? Or, what are my coaches and teammates going to think if this happens? So it's really, really difficult to not let those things affect your focus on just the pitch in front of you. So I think the biggest mistake is that we don't have the same focus on every single pitch that we should.
Well, one thing that definitely jumps out to me is I've told the story before. A couple of years ago on my daughter's softball team that I was the head coach, and we had a girl that was very talented, but there was a mental block there. And I tried everything. She was stepping into the bucket on every swing. She was backing out before every pitch. She was just scared of getting hit by a pitch again. And there were times that she would come to the plate before it even began, and there were tears in her eyes. And I tried everything. The great news is she overcame it. She became the best player on her team the following season, I was so happy to see that. But when you have that part and the youth part of it, where how many kids just quit the game because there's that mental hurdle, what you can do with Mental Game Learning Lab to get kids past it when you know the talent is there, it's just that mental side of getting them ready to go.
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Just what you can do with Mental Game Learning Lab in order for somebody that is struggling, somebody that has something to overcome, kind of the ins and outs that you guys do to get past that and get them ready to play.
Gotcha. Yep. The one thing I really encourage, especially youth athletes to do, is to embrace failure, right? Nobody likes failure. It's uncomfortable. It can be embarrassing at times. It's frustrating. And when we really care about what we're doing, like baseball, like softball, like any sport, it's going to be really, really frustrating when we're not successful at that. But in order to be successful, we have to embrace the possibility. So I really challenge, and it's not even just youth, it's athletes across all ages, right? Believe it or not, they kind of struggle with the same things. So it really is helping them go into every moment, understanding that they absolutely could, quote unquote, fail. They absolutely could get embarrassed, be frustrated, and they could give their all to something and it might not work out. And that's an unfortunate reality. But I help athletes understand what gives them the best chance, right? Yes, we have to acknowledge all of those things, but that's just so we can focus on what we need to do that's right in front of us. I help athletes focus on what is going on right in front of us and how they can show up into that moment with the confidence that they can do it.
Will, as we jump into Mental Game Learning Lab, and for people that are out there listening right now, watching this on YouTube, they get into this part of it and they say, you know what, I got kid, high school pitcher, he's really talented, he's got a chance. Or even a guy that is playing collegiately, but there's other things. Is this something that you can work on, like your swing, like your pitch? Is this something, the mental side of it, that you can train your brain?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are tons of different tools that we can use to train the mental game, not even just separately from the physical side of it, but within the physical side of it every single time that we go to practice. So one of the biggest tools that I like to teach athletes is a simple reset routine. Like when you notice that your mind has become distracted by unhelpful thoughts, unhelpful feelings or emotions, can we simply acknowledge that it's there and accept it, just so we can shift our focus back to what is going on right in front of us, back to the thing that we need to be focused on. So having a routine to do that, having a system for recognizing what's going on and a cue, whether it's physical, verbal, focal to help them recenter themselves, get their attention out of their heads into their environment in front of them, take a deep breath, right? Slow it down a little bit, and then we focus back on just that rep or just that pitch or play or whatever that one thing is that's right in front of them. Other tools that they can use, imagery is a fantastic tool just to get reps without even getting physical reps. They can rehearse any situation that they might find themselves in. Another really, really important thing that I think all athletes should practice is adding stressful situations into their training, adding uncomfortable thoughts, feelings, emotions into their training, making it more challenging. I think one mistake that, again, not just youth athletes, but even athletes at high levels make is they only train in a very safe and controlled environment when they're not in competition. And the problem with that is they get into competition, and now they're not used to those things that they feel, those challenges that show up in competition because they haven't trained those same skills under those demands. So including those demands into their training is also a very, very easy way, I won't say easy, but a really impactful way that you can train your mental game in practice with whatever you're doing.
People want to get involved. They have somebody that's out there, somebody listening right now. They say, you know what, I think this is something Will could really help us out with. Will Nigut with Mental Game Learning Lab. Where can people go for more information and talk a little bit more and just find out exactly what you can do with Mental Game Learning Lab?
Absolutely. People can reach me at mentalgamelearninglab.com. They can also reach me. I post a lot on my Instagram page, and it's a lot about baseball and pitching, but that's just at Will Nigut, WILLNIGUT. A lot of I like to post a lot of helpful information. My goal is that anybody can go there and get a lot of value out of that. So that's the main places that someone can find me.
MentalGameLearningLab.com is where you can go and help out your young athlete on the mental side of things. We'll appreciate the time, a really interesting conversation, and we'll do this again a little bit later on. We'll get into football season. I'll bring up a couple of guys that feel like they're struggling mentally. Hopefully it's not my guy Caleb Williams with the Bears, but we'll get into it then. Thank you so much for your time today, Will.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trent.
MentalGameLearningLab.com. Really fun there and an interesting, different kind of conversation than we normally have, which is a good thing, to spread our wings a little bit and look at things in a different way. We're going to take a quick time out here on the Lunch Rush. When we come back on the other side, we're going to talk some NFL, and we're going to make this a big quarterback conversation. You can rank quarterbacks in a myriad of different ways. For some people, yes, maybe it is the fantasy football side of things. That could be a piece of it. So many different ways to get into the conversation. We're going to rank these things. We're going to tear it up and go through our NFL rankings. My guy Russ Carew is going to join us coming up on the other side as we're talking quarterbacks. Stay right there. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on the Rush Radio Network and ESPN Des Moines. America's turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Iowa $250. For everyone in Iowa, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right into your account. This is available for everyone in Iowa, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Iowa. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
At the Chicken Coop, we're starting from scratch.
That's right. We're dropping some new recipes along with your favorites, and they're all made from scratch.
Boneless wings and chicken tenders made from scratch when you order.
Get your spice on with our new Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Or our new buffalo chicken sandwich.
Both made from scratch.
Don't forget our wings, made with 12 different sauces that are, you guessed it, made from scratch.
The Chicken Coop has the best chicken and is made from scratch in our kitchen.
Stop in or order online today.
If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Russ Nigut, a Brick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company, LLC, or a corporation. With Russ Nigut's help, it's easy to form your new small business. Russ Nigut, a business lawyer with Brick Gentry Law PC. Go to rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side.
Do you remember the last walk-off homer to win the World Series? It's been a while, but the answer is 1993. Do you know when Wolf Roofing started roofing houses? That's right, 1993. Wolf Roofing has been around for a long time. For your next roofing project, put the experience of Wolf Roofing on your side. Find them on the web at wolfroofing.net or give them a call at 515-225-8866 or online wolfroofing.net.
Every athlete trains their body, but what about their mind? Here's Will Nigut, certified mental performance consultant with Mental Game Learning Lab.
At Mental Game Learning Lab, athletes learn the skills that separate good from great: confidence, focus, resilience, and handling pressure. Because the mental game impacts every practice, every performance, and every comeback after adversity. Whether your athlete is just starting out or competing at a high level, mental training can make the difference.
Mental Game Learning Lab, training minds for stronger performance in sports and life. Online, mentalgamelearninglab.com. Looking for your next big pull? Head to the Rookie Sports Cards and Clyde, your destination for sports cards, collectibles, and all the excitement of the hobby. Whether you're hunting for the newest rookies, building your collection, or searching for that perfect card, the Rookie Sports Card has something for every collector. From baseball to football, basketball, and more, your next great find could be waiting for you. The Rookie Sports Cards in Clive. Collect the game you love.
KRNT Des Moines is 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN, a Des Moines Media Group station. Your local solution to get your business wanted, found, and chosen. The biggest sports stories are just getting started. From Hawkeyes and Cyclones to the NFL, MLB, NBA, and beyond. This is The Lunch Rush, presented by Circa Sports. Now, here's Trent Condon.
Hour number 2, welcome back. It is The Lunch Rush here on the Rush Radio Network, or you can watch us every single day on Twitter, and you can also find us on YouTube over there. You can stream as well, therushradio.com. And you can hear us on ESPN Des Moines here in Central Iowa, 1350 AM and 102.1 FM. We have talked a lot of different things. We've touched on the mental side of sports. We talked some college football. We talked about the Hawkeyes yesterday and the Big Ten Network stop and their final stop of their tour across the 18 campuses that comprise the new Big Ten. But now we're going to get back into some nuts and bolts, and we're going to talk NFL football. We're going to talk specifically about quarterbacks with my guy, Russ Carew. He is the owner of Graphite Construction Group, a great presenting sponsor of our high school football coverage every year. You probably see it or hear it after the games. Our player of the game, our hard hat player of the game, brought to you by Graphite Construction Group. Russ, good to talk with you once again. It has been a busy last month and a half, as you know, for me, but finally settling in, get ready for Friday night as we'll kick off our high school football coverage, week 0 of college football, and we know you got your eye on your Kansas City Chiefs. How you been doing?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself with settling in process?
We're getting there. Absolutely. It feels like it has been spinning plates a lot of times and a lot of different days trying to get everything up and ready and running at the spot that we want. But it's been great. I love the new home here with ESPN Des Moines along with the Rush Radio Network. So things are definitely trending in a good direction. Definitely happy with the way that everything has turned out. And thanks to people like you as well, Russ, that have definitely helped that make that come to fruition as we get going here with the new entity and a lot of fun here as we talk sports each and every day with everybody across Central Iowa and across the state of Iowa. But this is something you and I, we were sitting around probably having a beer one day, and we're just talking about quarterbacks and coming up with things. We do the mock draft with you every year, Russ, and that's been such a fun exercise. We know how deep you are into the NFL draft, but just coming up with a way to rank the NFL quarterbacks and going through. And I think this is an exercise I want to do with you maybe every month. You know, we'll dig in after the first 4 or 5 weeks of the NFL schedule, a little bit deeper into the season, because I think there's going to be adjustments. But just this idea that we kind of came up with together and talking about NFL quarterbacks and how important, obviously, that position is, but just how you rank them. I think a lot of people have different ideas of exactly how you look at an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think every quarterback you've got to evaluate, not just in a vacuum. It's not just their play on the field; it's also the play around them, the coaching, the team, and then it's, then it really kind of funnels into the overall success of the offense and then the team itself. So, I think the review of quarterbacks cannot be just limited to, hey, does he throw for a high percentage of completions, or does he rush for a bunch of yards, or does he throw for a bunch of yards? It's really, you have to look at how the team is structured and the coaching, and then that really plays into how the quarterback plays. And then there's just the outliers that just, it doesn't matter what you put around them, they're just not good.
Yeah, you have that part of it too. And we talked about the mental side of things a little bit earlier with Will Nigut, and I think the mental part of that also is big. I know I've told this story before. I think it was Drew Brees that just talked about almost every quarterback can make the throws. At this level, you can make the throws and you can do it in practice. It's the extra things that are happening around you, understanding, processing, the things that we don't talk about probably nearly as much at the quarterback spot, that it is different for all those guys, and those guys that can process at a high level and understand the game and being a leader and those little things that you can't measure. That's also a pretty big part of what happens at the quarterback position. So when we came up with this idea, we talked about kind of putting these in different tiers. One caveat that I put in when I was coming up with my list is I looked at it this way. I said you have an average offense, an average group of running backs, wide receivers, offensive line, an average defense, an average head coach. Just everything is equal across the board. Who do I want for 2026? That's how I did the exercise. Did you think it the same way?
I looked at it a little different. I looked at, to me, it's who you want running your team, but I also think a little bit of it is the success of the last couple years compared to what you also project for them in the future. So, I mean, like if you took Mendoza, for example, I don't have him on the list because obviously they've got Kirk Cousins starting, but if you wanted to put Fernando Mendoza on a list somewhere, well, where would you rank him? Because you really don't know. So you've kind of got to have a little bit of a projection of the future and kind of where they're going. Or like Malik Willis down there with the Dolphins. You know, he was pretty much a career backup in Green Bay, and now he's given the keys to the car. And what's that going to be? You know, we've only seen him in, I think, 3 different games, and 2 of them he looked pretty good, and 1 of them he didn't look that great. So it really depends on how you want to look at it. But I tried to take it as not just a snapshot of today and where I think they'll be, but a little bit of a little before and a little projection.
So what? We got 7, 8 different, I think, groupings here, different tiers that you came up with. Now, do we want to start with the top tier, or do we want to make our way up? Do we want to start at the bottom and go up? Russ, which direction do you think we should go on the list?
I don't know. I mean, I tried to come up with funny names for them.
Yes, you did a good
just
job.
Because if you just do normal names, everyone does that, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So I want to do funny names. So maybe we start at the top and work our way down, because I think when you get towards the bottom, it gets funnier with the tiers.
Yes, it absolutely does. Well, let's start at the top tier. You only have one guy in your top tier. Give it to us, season ticket holder of the Kansas City Chiefs. Your top tier, what you named it, and who you got.
Yep. It is the hate us because you ain't us category. And that is the one and only guy who's won 3 Super Bowls. And that is an active player, 2-time MVP, 2-time NFL MVP, all-time single season combined rushing and passing yards. That would be one Patrick LeVon Mahomes II.
Patrick Mahomes LeVon? I didn't know his middle name was LeVon. You got me on that one. Now, this would be the lone pushback, and I'll be honest, he's also number 1 on my list. As I didn't come up with good tiers like you did, and good names for it, but he is number 1. It's hard for me to supplant him, have anybody else there. Josh Allen, again, the way that I looked at it, everything average, but he's proven it, and it's hard for me to get past that. Even coming off the injury, even before the injury, a very down year. People will point to, really overall, the last 3 seasons, there has been a statistical step back from him in terms of touchdown passes, still in the double digits for interceptions. completion percentage about the same, but there has been a step back from Patrick Mahomes. For people that would make that argument, how would you push back on that?
Well, I would say let's look at the 2023 receiving class for them when he won the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure half of them are on the terrorist do not fly list. So I think that is a big part of the issues they've had. Also, if you look at his precipitous drop in numbers, they really started at the end of 22 when Eric Bieniemy left the Chiefs for his various coaching opportunities he had. And that's kind of when things changed a little bit with it. So I think it's a combination of he's not had a great coaching offensive scheme around him. I think he's also had pretty poor wide receivers. Like I said, his 2023 wide receivers are Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, and rookie Rashee Rice. And then, Richie James, who actually caught balls in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's a pretty poor group there. So I just think I think the Chiefs have kind of been a victim of their success, and Patrick Mahomes has kind of been a victim of his own success, that we are evaluating him compared to every other player that's currently playing. And if you look at it overall, I just think he's done more with less than anyone else could do in the last few years. And yeah.
Tier number 1, Patrick Mahomes on his own. I ranked him a little bit different, but I do have him in the top spot. I just went through more of a list kind of style here as we went through the tiers. Now, your next tier is also not very deep. It's more than 1, but it's less than 3. Just 2 quarterbacks in your second tier. Who do you got up next here in our NFL tier rankings, Russ?
So my tier ranking, this is my K2, as in the mountain.
Okay.
It's the second highest mountain in the world. Not the highest, the second highest. So I have Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford in here. I think, Josh Allen is, in my opinion, the second best quarterback in the league. Even though you watched him in the AFC Championship, that was downright pathetic. But I think he is overall the second best quarterback in the league. He just produces at a level that most of the other guys can't. And I don't really see too many people that can have that level of leadership and then also kind of put his teams in position to win week in, week out. My other person is Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's obviously won Super Bowl. He's also been on an 0-16 team. So Stafford's kind of an interesting guy. Since he's gone to the Rams, he's really had a renaissance for his career. And then, having Puka Nacua really helps. And then having Kyron Williams there as a good running back really gave that offense some juice last year. And I just believe overall that he's one of the best throwers of football, and he's old enough, but still has not had the degradation of skills like Aaron Rodgers has, where he is still able to produce at a high level. So Stafford and Josh Allen are my 2.
That is its own tier. My tier is a little bit different because, my next tier, I got Josh Allen second overall. Number 3 on my list, a guy that's not in your second tier, is Joe Burrow. And again, we're talking about everything for me, the way that I look at it. Everything's equal. That means he has an average offensive line, not a crappy one. We know he's got studs at wide receiver. Maybe he's got a running game to go along with it, at least okay. An okay defense that he hasn't had. I know the injury concerns. They've been some fluky ones, but I go back to what he did going in, getting the victory against Kansas City. I believe in the talent so much. So I got Joe Burrow up there on my list in that tier. And I still have Lamar Jackson. And I know you're going to yell at me on this one. I still have Lamar Jackson in that tier. So tell me why I'm an idiot and I need to stop my love affair with Lamar.
Well, let's talk Joe Burrow first,
okay,
and then we'll go to Lamar. All right, so my issue with Joe Burrow is that Joe Burrow is throwing to 2 of the top 15 wide receivers in the league, and he has a running back that's probably top 15, and they base that entire team is based on 3 players, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. And I believe that if you put a comparable player, let's say like a Trevor Lawrence or even a Baker Mayfield, I think those guys would be very similar to where Joe Burrow is. So I don't personally think Joe Burrow, he is on my next tier of players, but I don't think he's the same level as Stafford or Allen in my mind. The other thing is Joe Burrow has not had hardly a healthy season in his entire career. Every year he's injured, and that is a big part of it. You have to, the number one thing in football is availability. Don't care how good you are. If you're not on the field, it doesn't matter. So that's my Joe Burrow take. The Lamar take is that Lamar feasts on crappy teams.
Mm-hmm.
I've said that since he came out. I remember the first time he won MVP and he was running all over everybody under the sun. And then you watched him hit the wall that is the playoffs because you're no longer dealing with the Jets or the Browns or the Dolphins, right now. You're dealing with teams that actually have a defense and can play, play run zone, and they can actually hold their areas, and that matters a bunch with Lamar. Lamar doesn't have a great arm. He's probably, I'd say, got a below average arm. And when you have that, plus then, you're not able to sling the ball all over the field like most of the other guys on the upper part of the list, and you're relying on your legs. Well, his legs are starting to go out a little bit. But I just think Lamar runs into that playoff wall. So we'll see how it goes this year with a new coach and if they have slightly different scheme and they change things up. But I don't know. We'll find out.
One difference that we have also is I have Matt Stafford much lower on my list. I have him coming in at number 7 on my list. It is because he's got everything there. And he had the back concerns coming into last season, of course, stayed healthy. On an average team, I don't know if Matt Stafford can do what he can do with this loaded Rams team. And we'll see that defense showed some cracks a year ago. Now they went out and certainly made changes to augment what they have there defensively, and you expect to step forward. But we're just talking about quarterbacks. I'm a little bit lower on Stafford. All right, let's get into tier number 3 here. Next one up, where you got a group of 4 quarterbacks, including a couple that we talked about with Burrow and Lamar Jackson.
Yep. So this is my follow-up album for your favorite band when they decide to go mainstream.
Okay.
So you're like, man, I really love this band, but man, I really think this album could use a little more work. It's just not there. It's like I like 5 songs, but I don't like all 12. And the first album, you're like, man, I love that entire thing, front to back. I listened to it 100 times. Well, that's what these guys are to me. So they're guys who you like a lot of what they do, but they haven't put it all the way together. Mm-hmm. And you really need to see a little more from them in the future to make it all kind of jive to really move them up higher in your rankings. So for me, those characters are Jaden Daniels. Loved his rookie year. I think, honestly, he should have been in the conversation more for MVP that year. Went to that NFC Championship, and then last year was injured. And it seems like this year he's still kind of fighting the injury bug. I got Caleb Williams. First year was terrible. Last year, Ben Johnson goes in, kind of turns it around. The off-script plays finally start going his way, and he started looking good. So Caleb Williams, to me, is a guy who needs to go in and put it together on script and then actually have a follow-up campaign that shows what he's got. And then Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are the last 2 to round out my category there.
So we're through 3 of the tiers here, and now we're getting into some question marks. I think some guys with some big questions coming up into the season. We're going to talk about that as we continue here on the Lunch Rush. We're making it quarterback week. Today it's the NFL, tomorrow the Big 12, and on Thursday we will hit Big 10 rankings for the quarterback here. We've hit the top spot as we're joined by Russ Carew from Graphite Construction Group talking NFL. Quick time out here. Back with more in a moment. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports. We're back with more in a moment.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
Family owned since 1970, Kemker's True Value and Rental helps you buy what you want and rent what you need. Get to work on that to-do list with help from Kemker's True Value and Rental. Kemker's has all your hardware needs, grills for that family barbecue, and a one-stop shop for all your lawn and garden needs. Plus, their rental catalog is perfect for do-it-yourselfers. Make it Kemker's True Value and Rental. Find out what they can do for you at KemkersTrueValue.com. That's KemkersTrueValue.com.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale. Joined by Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care. It's football season. Concussions always a big topic.
This year, 2 to 3 million sports-related concussions will occur, and about half of those go unreported. 2 out of every 10 high school students will suffer a concussion. The most important part is following through with your doctor, but the recommendations are different than they used to be. At Elite Eye Care, we can diagnose and treat the post-concussion visual symptoms that typically exist.
That's Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care, with locations in Waukee, 2 in Ankeny, and the newest location in Norwalk for Elite Eye Care. Craving something sweet? Head to the Outside Scoop in Grimes, where every scoop is packed with flavor and every visit is a little more fun. From classic favorites to delicious specialty creations, the Outside Scoop has something for everyone. Bring the family, grab your friends, and treat yourself to the perfect dessert any day of the week. The Outside Scoop in Grimes, your next sweet stop is right around the corner. Is your HVAC system on the fritz? Don't sweat it. Call Logier Heating and Cooling, your local Des Moines comfort experts. We're locally owned and operated, so we know the needs of our community. We're not about high-pressure sales. We're about doing things the right way. That means sending trained, certified technicians, not salespeople, to your door. Our technicians will diagnose your system's problem and recommend the best course of action. When you call us at Logier, you're always speaking with a live person ready to help. We understand your comfort is important, and we'll do everything we can to get your HVAC system back into top condition. Experience the Logier difference. Call us today for a free estimate or to schedule a service call. Your comfort is our priority. I think you all know by now that the Chicken Coop is one of my favorite places to go for a cold one and great food. And their new made-from-scratch menu has me going back even more. Their signature wings with 12 different sauces, the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich, and you gotta try the new Big B chopped cheese. And the Chicken Coop has 3 locations: Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Ankeny. Wherever you are in the metro, the Chicken Coop has you covered.
Your lunch break, your sports fix. Back to the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon.
We continue on talking NFL here today in hour number 2. We'll get back into college football a little bit later on. It is the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports, joined by Russ Carew from Graphite Construction Group and our NFL quarterback tier. So, Russ, we got through a number of them, but not all of them at this point. We've hit some of the top-level guys. Next up on the tiers, your top tier had Patrick Mahomes, Number 2 list had 2 guys, Josh Allen and Matt Stafford. Then your follow-up album of your favorite band when they decide to go mainstream with Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. Next up, your next tier, Russ, is Are They the Guy? And I think a fair question for all 3 of these players.
Yep. I've got Drake May, Jalen Hurts, and Jared Goff. So you're talking Drake May, the guy who feasted on one of the easiest opponents last year. Jalen Hurts, who's known for the tush push and showing up in the playoffs, but not in the regular season generally. And Jared Goff, the guy who could not make it in LA, but is a beloved fan favorite in Detroit.
The next tier is interesting to me, and it is 2 veterans, 2 guys that have been around for a while, 2 guys that have won a lot of football games. What's your next tier here of our quarterback rankings?
Yep, this is the naked wings with a bunch of sauces.
Okay.
So you got Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy. So these are guys that, if they're okay, but man, when they get the pieces and parts around them, they just end up being a lot better together. So that's kind of my my mid-tier. They can win you something, but you got to have the stuff around them.
So the next one I think is fun to talk about. We're going to dig into this tier a little bit more. These are some, for the most part, younger quarterbacks. There's a couple of veterans in there. But this next tier, I got a couple of these guys a little bit higher on my list than you do. What is this next group of quarterbacks as we sit kind of in the middle of the quarterback tiers?
Yep. So this is that meme with the guy with the stick. Just do something. Do something.
All right.
So Justin Herbert, he's a junkyard's king, loved by all the national people. Never won a playoff game. Trevor Lawrence is kind of a bust until last year when he conveniently beat Justin Herbert in the playoffs. Jordan Love, he was drafted high overall and really hasn't done much of anything. Baker Mayfield was like the number 1 pick and has been run all over town or all over the country and has settled in Tampa Bay, but they still don't have a deal for him for next year. You got Cam Ward, who was the number 1 pick a few years ago, who's just kind of been dealing with a bunch of BS around him and a team that doesn't know how to win or play. So this year I think is going to be a little different. And then CJ Stroud, amazing rookie year. And then last year just kind of lost it in the playoffs. I mean, peed down his leg. So, these are all guys who need to show you something. They got to, take that step up and actually do what they need to do.
I might call this tier like the nerd tier because the stat guys, I like stats. You know this, Russ. I like analytical numbers and seeing if it marries exactly with what I see on the field. But there's so many people that's all they care about is just what the numbers spit out. And obviously Justin Herbert's one of those guys. Love is definitely one of those guys for the Packers that statistically and just overall some of the more analytical numbers, these guys rate very highly, but you got to see more. Jordan Love, great performance in Dallas a couple of years ago in the playoffs. But then we saw what happened in the second half against the Bears last year in the playoffs. These are guys that all have me wanting more, I think. And if I'm coming up with this tier, I wouldn't have Cam Ward. I think he is a different conversation than all. CJ Stroud, they had it all last year. The Texans, that could have been easily a Super Bowl champion if they just got even average quarterback play, and they couldn't get that out of Stroud last year. Out of the group, so I think this one might be the most intriguing because I think with almost all these guys, you can make arguments why there is another step or they are just what they are. Either guys that put up good numbers but can't win in big moments. I think this is maybe the most interesting group that you have here.
Well, trying to keep it spicy.
Yes, definitely did. All right, we got 3 more tiers here. Next up, we got a bunch of young guys for the most part, a couple of very aging veterans. What is your next tier here of the quarterback rankings in the NFL?
Yeah, so this is produce from a small-town grocery store. So, yeah, you're buying, like an apple because it's good for you, but, man, that thing's kind of old. It's kind of got some soft spots, but there's not really any other options. So you're going to roll with it.
All right. I like the tier because I worked at a small town grocery store in high school. Jack and Jill was the name of the grocery store. So I know all about this. And yes, I stock the produce from time to time. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Who is in the tier? Produce from a small town grocery store.
I got Bo Nix, Jackson Dart, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Bryce Young, and Danny Dimes.
All right. So a wide range of different players, all kinds of different abilities. I think different thoughts with all of them. I want to start with Bo Nix, though. You, as a Chiefs fan, of course, my retired partner, Ken Miller, a big Broncos fan. He's been all over the place throughout the years already with Bo Nix, the highs, the lows, the back and forth with him. Just what do you think overall of Bo Nix? And the one thing that I've argued is I just felt like he was such a finished product. He played so much football in his collegiate career. I didn't just know if there was a whole lot of growth potential with Bo Nix. I don't know. There'll be slight improvements. There always are, but I just don't know how much growth there is for Bo Nix. What do you think on him?
So, one, as a Chiefs fan, I will be really excited next year when Bo Nix gets a $70 million a year deal with the Broncos. I will be ecstatic. Probably might have a party or something for that. Personal opinion of Bo Nix is I think he's an okay quarterback. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. I think he's the bottom third of the league. I totally agree with you. I don't see that there's much room for growth because he was 26 coming into the league, I think. And he's played at Oregon, Auburn. I mean, he played at a bunch of bigger schools, and there really wasn't a ton of growth. His arm strength is slightly below average. He doesn't read defenses the best. He needs to be put in a position where he's only a 1 or 2 read situation, and that's why they've gone out and traded for Jalen Waddle. They've figured out, keeping an aging Cortland Sutton and tried to make sure they had the best, running attack they could. That way they could minimize what Bo Nix needs to do. So I think he's a limited quarterback that has made some plays and some good opportunities, but overall I think he's just a limited player.
On this tier, I think I like both these guys more than most. First, the Raiders quarterback, Kirk Cousins. We saw last year after he was finally getting a little bit more healthy coming off that Achilles that he at least had some good moments. I think there's still something there, and people that think Mendoza's just going to take over by week 4 or 5, I think there might be a little bit longer runway for Kirk Cousins. And I know I'm crazy, and I know Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to get hit anymore, but I think there's one more in him. I really do. I believe in the talent so much, obviously, as I hated him when he was wearing the Green Bay John Deere colors out there with the Packers. I think there's a little bit more still in the tank for him, probably higher than most on both of those guys. What do you think of the two veterans?
All right, so Kirk Cousins to me is like your Mendoza line in baseball.
Okay.
If you are better than Cousins, you're probably in the top 2/3 of the league. Mm-hmm. If you're worse than Cousins, you should not be playing. So I just think he still probably has something left in the tank, but you watched him that last year in Atlanta, and I know they did the quarterback series, and he said he was injured, a good chunk of the year. I don't know if that's revisionist history, but you watched him. He's never been a guy who's going to go win you every game, and he's not going to pull you out from behind. I just feel like Kirk Cousins is one of those guys where if you have a team around him, he can be okay. He can make the playoffs, but that's as far as it's going to go. And so given his injuries, Achilles injuries are hard to come back from when you're older. You're not going to have that explosiveness. You're not going to have that mobility. And that does affect his ability to rocket that ball out. And so that's why I think part of Kirk Cousins' issue is that he's not physically going to ever be 100%. And the best he's going to get is 90. And I think 90 puts him in the bottom quarter of the league compared to the third.
Interesting. All right. We got 2 more tiers to go here as we're talking with Russ Carew, taking a look through the NFL and coming up with quarterback tiers. What is the second to the bottom here in your tier system?
The second to the bottom is the Royals bullpen.
Awful.
Yep. 23 blown saves and counting. Yeah. Think about that. Royals are 20 games under 500. And if they would have won half of those, they'd be a playoff team right now. Anyway, so that's how bad this category is. So I have Tua in here, and you could put Michael Penix Jr. in here too if you want to, because frankly he's the same guy. Jacoby Brissett, Geno Smith, and Malik Willis. Malik Willis is thrown in here just because I feel like it's unknown, and I just do not see success ever happening in Miami with him.
I'm with you. I liked some of the moments of Malik Willis. I liked him coming out of Liberty. I was higher than most were on him. I knew he was going to be a developmental guy. I definitely saw it, but it's the situation in Miami. I mean, look at that wide receiver group for the Dolphins. It is just absolutely pathetic. I just don't think it's going to translate here. He is a guy that feels like he's got to have the groceries with him, right? He can't just go out there and do it himself. I think it's going to be an ugly, ugly year for him. Tua looks absolutely cooked. Another guy that doesn't want to get hit anymore. Geno Smith, we know these guys. Yeah, this is just a bad tier. But there is one tier worse than that, Russ. What do you have at the bottom?
I have the Prison League MVP,
oh, no.
and that is Deshaun Watson.
Oh, no. I don't know how comfortable I am going down this route with you. So I'm going to leave it to you, Russ. What do you got?
Deshaun Watson has had, 20-something or another. Women accuse him of some heinous stuff. Then in amongst that, then you have him getting traded for a fully guaranteed deal to the Browns, and then being with the Browns for the last 3 or 4 years and just playing 19 games in total for $200+ million. And he had in that time 19 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, and then he's also been sacked 70 times. You know what that tells me? That's a guy who has no business playing football, and I'm literally surprised that Todd Monken and Barry have decided that is the way that they want to go with that team when they have Shedeur Sanders sitting behind him, who is a fan favorite, not that great, but a fan favorite, and it is just baffling to me why he is a starting quarterback in this league.
Right there with you, and it is not going to go well. It's going to end, I anticipate, pretty quickly on that front. There'll be a change. They'll get a look at Shedeur, and then they'll be drafting number 1 next season and have another number 1 first-round pick that'll come up. And we'll talk about that coming up in April with our mock draft presented by Graphite Construction Group. Russ Carew joining us. Russ, final thing for you. We got Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, coming up here in just a few minutes. We're going to talk some Chiefs with him. Talked about it. You are a big Chiefs fan. Where are you right now in the optimism meter? You're usually a pretty confident Chiefs fan. Why are you feeling good about KC this year?
I'm feeling good on a couple fronts. One is I think Brett Veach might have pulled off a 2022 draft again. I believe their draft was outstanding. The R. Mason Thomas is looking like a real deal pass rusher. Mansour Lane has been amazing. And if you watched him in the preseason game last week, it was great. And then all the guys that they brought in and are working around on that defense have just really stepped up, and it is impressive to see what they've done so far. And then you flip to the offense. Having K9 in there is just night and day difference on what that offense looks like. Andy spent some time in the lab and is planning to put them under center a lot more, and then getting Cyrus Allen in the 5th round this year, who looks like a real deal wide receiver. I just have a lot of optimism because I think the issues on offense are going to be fixed by having the defense not be able to tee up on Mahomes and pass rush all the time. And then I think the defense will actually have a pass rush. They look significantly faster than they did last year, where it looked like they were moving in concrete shoes.
Yes, they did. That was a big step back a year ago. We talked about Mahomes at the top of things, but yeah, that defense taking a step back and getting some athleticism. That's going to go a long, long way. Trent McDuffie moves on, but a lot of pieces back there. And we've talked a lot to Mitch Holthus about Xavier Wampa. Good to have a potentially a Iowa kid, a Central Iowa kid that's going to be making his way and potentially making the team. How do you feel about his chances of making the 53-man squad?
I think he's slotting in right now for about the 4th safety position. So you've got Jaden Hicks is kind of sitting in there at the number 3 spot, and I think he is right in there. So I'm going to guess he's going to make the 49th probably position on the team. But I think, from what I saw last week where he played a substantial amount of time in the preseason game, I think he's going to be able to actually make the roster.
Good stuff. He is Russ Carew, Graphite Construction Group. Our NFL quarterback rankings, we'll do this here coming up here in just over a month once again after we get deep into the season, and we'll keep checking in and see how those tiers change. Fun conversation here today, Russ. Thank you so much for your time.
Cool. Talk to you, Trent.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
You too. Russ Carew joining us from Graphite Construction Group. Quick timeout. Coming back on the other side, we'll talk to the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He is Mitch Holthus, and he is next. Stay right there. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on the Rush Radio Network and ESPN Des Moines.
Every business has priorities, and Priority One Heating and Cooling is no different. As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always priority one.
Hey, Tanner with Liberty Lawn and Landscape here. We are now booking, so get a hold of us to schedule your next project today. Serving the Des Moines Metro, we specialize in a variety of services such as retaining walls, paver patios, edging and rocking, and much more. Now offering 3D renderings to show you exactly how your project will look before beginning. Liberty is proudly veteran-owned and ready to serve you today.
The Lunch Rush will be right back, but so will more local, live, and everyday sports programs on the Rush Radio Network. Wake up with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson on The Rush from 6 to 8 a.m. and finish your day with Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain from 4 to 6. Every show, every day on the Rush Radio Network.
There are a lot of reasons to want a self-driving mower from Iowa Mobotics.
Being automated gives me more time to do my hobbies.
I travel so much for work that I don't have time to take care of the lawn, but I still care about how it looks.
And I'm just lazy. Gives me time to work in the wood shop instead of spending it on the mower.
It works in my schedule.
And I just really hate doing it.
No matter your reason, with Iowa Mobotics, spend less time mowing, more time
following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
If you're thinking of incorporating or
total transparency.
Featuring tight money line splits, lowest holds, and exceptional live customer service.
Hi, how may I help you today?
Download your new bookie today, Circa Sports. Start betting like a pro.
Every business has priorities, and Priority One Heating and Cooling is no different. As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always priority one.
Hey, Tanner with Liberty Lawn and Landscape here. We are now booking, so get a hold of us to schedule your next project today. Serving the Des Moines Metro, we specialize in a variety of services such as retaining walls, paver patios, edging and rocking, and much more. Now offering 3D renderings to show you exactly how your project will look before beginning. Liberty is proudly veteran-owned and ready to serve you today.
The Lunch Rush will be right back, but so will more local, live, and everyday sports programs on the Rush Radio Network. Wake up with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson on The Rush from 6 to 8 a.m. and finish your day with Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain from 4 to 6. Every show, every day on the Rush Radio Network.
There are a lot of reasons to want a self-driving mower from Iowa Mobotics.
Being automated gives me more time to do my hobbies.
I travel so much for work that I don't have time to take care of the lawn, but I still care about how it looks.
And I'm just lazy. Gives me time to work in the wood shop instead of spending it on the mower.
It works in my schedule.
And I just really hate doing it.
No matter your reason, with Iowa Mobotics, spend less time mowing, more time.
Welcome back once again as we continue on, taking you up until 1 o'clock here this afternoon. Wrapping things up, coming up in a moment, we will have our picks of the day. They're presented by Circa Sports. A good day yesterday. We will try to build on that, and we'll get into that here momentarily. But we're joined as we come to the final week of August camp. Yes, there is a day in August, I guess, on Monday, but coming to the end of our daily conversations with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. That means that football season is oh so close. And Mitch, It has been a lot. You mentioned the transition going from St. Joe, the road trip down to Tampa over the weekend, and now back at it as we're coming towards the end of camp. Still some big storylines, some big questions remain for this Kansas City Chiefs team. How have things been for you?
Yeah, no kidding. There's still a lot more questions, I think, than answers at this point. And in fact, in certain position groups. But and it has been just kind of a whirlwind. It always is when you have a road game after St. Joe gets into a routine. You know that 8 a.m. is this, and 2 p.m. is this, and 6 p.m. is this, and 10 p.m. is that. Now it's a little bit off, and they're trying to get to a regular season schedule, but there's still an adjustment. But there's also the cut downs of this weekend. You got the one preseason game left, and Trent, I'm telling you, it's you got to figure it out. And the O-line, tight end, linebacker are the three that are at the top of the list.
Most definitely the case. And the guy in the spotlight today, I'm incredibly intrigued by it. Now, I was duped by Clemson a year ago. I thought they were going to be a playoff team. I thought they were going to be a team that was maybe playing for a national championship. With all that talent, it didn't come to fruition. Peter Woods is a guy, definitely talent has never been a question mark with him. There has been some questions, going back to the draft, about the motor and how you can unlock all that talent. What can you tell us about the big guy out of Clemson, a guy that definitely looks the part, we know has a skill set to be a big-time player?
Well, 2 years ago, Trent, he was going to be, there was talk he would be a top 10 or top 12 pick in the draft. And then last year, because he had a phenomenal 24, he looked like an Aaron Donald redo. And then things did not go well in 2025 for him or Clemson. And I don't know. You look at the tape, and he got a lot of double teams. He got a lot of attention, and they didn't exactly, move him around a lot. But what I've noticed in camp, he's so explosive, first-step explosiveness. But this 2026 group as a whole, and Peter's right in the middle of this discussion, is the fact that they're willing to learn. They're willing to listen. They're listening to the veterans, and they're listening to the coaches, and they're willing to be a pro. That's so exciting to me. And I ask him where he's at right now, and it's music to my ears, much like R. Mason Thomas yesterday.
I think I still got a lot to learn. Big thing was, just everybody pushing everybody and making sure that we get through the finish line. Whatever drill we're doing in the meeting room, we're making sure we're just getting through the finish line. So, just leaning on each other, pushing each other from behind. The aspects of being a professional when it comes to, like football and the playbook, just being behind in that regard. But, having things like this, rookie training camps, just get us ahead the 8-ball with preparation and learning how to prep in the league has been really important for me. And so, like I said, I'm just soaking it all up, taking a day at a time.
And the veterans he knows are counting on him. But he's learning from them. He listens to Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, or Joe Cullen, his position coach, or defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. I love the way he listens and wants to learn. And he's got, again, great athletic ability. But to be a pro, there's a lot of guys with athletic ability that just never made it. Or if they did, they plateaued or didn't have a great career. Peter right now is off to a good start just because he is trying to learn all he can and soak it in and use that God-given talent and maximize it. Now, there's a ripple effect to Peter, and I kind of alluded to it, I think, 2 weeks ago when we had Chris on, or 3 weeks ago now, where Peter inside, along with Kairos Tonga, the free agent from the Patriots that we got, allows Chris to move around, allows Karlaftis to move around, allows Felix Anudike-Uzomah to move around, or Gelati when he's healthy to move around. And that gives Steve Spagnuolo, this mix and match opportunity. Spags likes to do that normally, but if you don't have the personnel to handle the middle, none of that works. I've got to be able to play the run. Teams just gashing you in the middle, or I've got to get some penetration in the middle. Or like last year, nothing works. You can't get pressure, you can't get coverage, and you can't get teams off the field on third down. Peter's going to change all that because his first step A-gap or B-gap quickness is profound. And he does give you a little Aaron Donald in the body size and body type and how he attacks the middle. So I'm very excited, not only for him personally, but for what he's going to do for everybody else on that defensive front, Peter Woods.
You look at the defense, what they did in the draft from the two guys we mentioned here this week with R. Mason Thomas, Peter Woods, athleticism. Delane coming in at cornerback, what they did at the defensive back position. Even a guy like Xavier Wampa that we talked about. All these guys, when you look at them and kind of look at the metrics, elite level athleticism. Is that something that really Veach and the rest of the organization wanted to be, just being more athletic defensively?
But Trent, what I'm trying to get across is equally so is mental and physical toughness and emotional stability. Who's going to be a pro here? Take your talent, and who's going to be a pro? Can he become Aaron Donald? Well, just look at Aaron Donald in the way he approached his career, and I guess redoing it now. But it's both things, and that's what excites me about this 26 class, is the fact that I think Brett Veach and his staff was looking to replicate the 22 class, and again, harder to find in the NIL world. But who loves to play football? Who is mature enough to handle it? Who's got this confidence they know they can play, but they're not so confident to think they have it all figured out. And if Chris Jones or George Karlaftis is talking to you, then you listen and embrace it and absorb it. And so that's what's going on with these guys. And that's why they've got a chance to be successful and help the team right away in the first week against the Denver Broncos.
Mentioned some of those questions that still remain. You brought up a couple of different things as we go into the final preseason game number 3 of the preseason. Those lingering doubts. Cut down day right around the corner. It is a time, you've gone through it so many years, Mitch, but you go through the routine, you get into it. The thing that I think so many people sometimes forget, we have what's happening. The Big Ten said, guys that are in camp, you're not allowed to come back to college. They're putting that rule into place, but these are still people. For so many of us at times, you get to know these guys as people. As you know, cut down day is right around the corner. How tough is that for you, knowing a bunch of these guys are not going to be around anymore?
I never get used to it, Trent. I never get callous to it, and I don't want to. If I get that way, then I need to get out. And we love the NFL, and we love to play fantasy football, and I don't make prop bets, but you might or somebody else might. And we just enjoy it so much, but it's still played by human beings. This isn't AI. And you've got guys whose dreams get dashed. They'll be dashed by the weekend. I've seen it where 7 guys thought they made a team on Saturday night in 2013, and we had the waiver claim position, and we took 7 guys on Sunday. They went to work on Sunday celebrating, thought they made the team, and hours later they're told, no, you're not going to make it. And of those 7 guys, 5 never played again in the NFL. So your question's a very good one, and I appreciate you asking it, because we can get so calloused or numb to the human side of this that we really don't truly appreciate what goes on with these players and with these teams and what has to happen, especially in the next 5 days.
Final preseason game back at home at Arrowhead. They'll wrap things up against the defending champion Seahawks in that one. Is it a good thing, the years that you get a couple of preseason games, and maybe specifically getting that final one at home, not having to worry about the travel, being at home and being able to wrap up the preseason back? Is that a positive when you look at it and putting the squad together and getting everybody ready for the real start of the year?
Yes, and I don't know how emphatic I could say it. If I was writing it down in a Word doc, it would be in italicized, gigantic font and put on a billboard at the Johnston Curve. Yes. The other thing that has worked out this year that I think will help be a long-term for the team, although we got brutal travel in the back half. They've nailed us in the back half. But in the meantime, I would tell you that having the off days be Sunday, it's been Sunday, off day, and to get in a routine in that regard is actually very helpful. I know it doesn't seem like much, but all of it adds up. And last year was brutal with what we had to deal with, even in the preseason, because they shipped us off to Seattle this week. We had a game coming home at 7 a.m. And it's great. I'm glad you asked it. Another great question, because absolutely is it a putt. Take Seattle. They just went on the road to Tennessee. They are going to come to our place on a short week Thursday, Sunday to Thursday. They open the season before anybody else, and usually that's on a Thursday. They're doing it on a Wednesday because there's an Australian game on Thursday. I mean, that's tough on the Seahawks. And at some point, that comes back to you hit a nail in the flat tire, and you get a flat tire. I'm just telling you, that's a lot for the Seahawks to endure, even in the preseason.
Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Mitch, we're getting back into the routine of school. Day number 2 for the kids back at it. Because I was running behind today, I didn't get breakfast. So I am thinking lunch, and I think I need to get myself a Papa John's pizza.
Yeah, did you ever figure out if we could take Papa John's to school?
We're working on that. We're working on it. Yes,
Okay.
we got a
All
new
right.
principal.
Well,
I don't want to ruffle too many feathers right away.
Yeah, don't do that. We ought to call the principal at Southeast Polk because I'm going to have Womp on again tomorrow.
Nice.
And I want to ask him about Southeast Polk. So we'll start with them. Maybe we can have Papa John's pizza. Anyway, if you can't, I got it. I'm just ha-ha here. Don't be mad at me if you're a school administrator. Maybe Des Moines Christian will do it. But epic pepperoni, the epic stuffed crust pizza. Epic stuffed crust pizza, pepperoni from Papa John's, $14.99. Get them while they last. Get them while they're hot.
Epic and an epic conversation. Thank you so much, Mitch.
Thank you. Very good questions, Trent. Excellent.
Thank you. That's Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, when you talk to somebody every day like Mitch, you're always trying to find new angles, new conversations, and I think we've accomplished that throughout the course of our conversations here. Well, time now from Mitch Holthus into our picks of the day.
It's time for Trent's Picks of the Day, presented by Circa Sports. Trent is not a professional bettor or a tout, just a guy that loves betting sports every day, usually poorly. Here's Trent.
Not yesterday. I'm going to talk about the week previous to that. Drew, you at 1-1, but you made money because you had a little positive EV on that one. Yeah. So kick it off again. What do you got for us in your picks of the day?
I'm going to go back with the Phillies. I got Phillies money line.
Oh, no.
I think they win it tonight. I don't trust the Mariners. I just don't. Even if they had a good night last night, I can't trust them.
Cal Raleigh, red hot.
Yeah. Once in his life. Rangers, White Sox. Give me Anthony K over 4.5 Ks.
Anthony K over 4.5 strikeouts. All right.
And then Dodgers at the Braves.
Uh-huh.
Give me the former Brave, Freddie Freeman, 2+ total bases.
2+ total bases. Are you going to parlay these or are you going to go with just individual bets?
I did individual, but I'm also going to put them together. We'll see. Because if they all hit, then, then we're making good money.
All right. Well, we're on the other side because I am taking the Mariners. I'm going to take hot Cal. Maybe I'm just trying to talk myself into it with the big dumper. -102 with the Mariners tonight against the Phillies. Give me Cleveland tonight. They're laying -138 out in LA against the Angels. I'm going to fade my Twins tonight. Going to go with the A's. Taj Bradley is just so flipping inconsistent. He drives me absolute crazy. And I was shocked by this one. Michael King, who's very solid for the Padres. He's good.
Yep.
Going up against Paul Skeens. With the way the Padres have played, I think they're 22-7 in their last 29, something ridiculous like that. It's just -118 on the Padres. I know it's Skeens on the other side, but it's a diminished Skeens. So we're going to go that route. And one more, we're going to go over on strikeouts with Ian Seymour for the Bravos. That's how we're going to wrap things up here. 5 picks here for you today as we tried to build on a 5-1 day yesterday. The only way to be better, run the board. If it's more realistic, we'll run the board the other way and go over. That'll do it for today. Drew Reinhardt, my radio producer, and myself, Trent Condon. Thanks for being with us on the Lunch Rush on the Rush Radio Network and ESPN Des Moines. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. America's turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Iowa $250. For everyone in Iowa, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right into your account.